Great. Welcome everyone. It is Thursday, May 9th, 2024, to the Historic Area Commission meeting. We start by having everyone say their name.
Starting with me.
Layla Hammer.
Cynthia Bowdy, Commissioner.
Lisa Doak. Terry Hayward Olivas.
Michael Westman, Kevin Wade.
Before we review minutes, I wanted to start with some changes to the agenda here. I'm proposing that we have a working session, that we schedule one to discuss some of these items that we have under new business. Specifically, the updates to the city website, a welcome letter for new residents and businesses, a FAQ section for the website, and also looking at other areas of other historic districts, seeing what they've done with concealment of gas risers and meters. We can delegate some of these items out. I know that Cynthia, you've been working on the welcome letter for new residents and businesses. If you'd like to continue with that.
Sure.
I've been looking into some updates for the website. Is there anything that any of the other commissioners are interested in looking at?
Just a general question, when that prospective letter to newcomers is completed, we'll all have a chance to review it, yes?
Right, that's why we're having scheduling a working session to go over everything.
Tara, with planning, the work being done for planning and publish applications and dispositions be part of the website discussion?
I think we should move that. I think this is already a lot to kind of discuss, and this is something that was already kind of discussed with administration.
Oh,
So let's potentially revisit that after we have after I'm able to discuss this with the administrator.
and the other thought I had was feeling that at least to have a preliminary conversation about dealing with real estate agents selling in town.
That is something that I brought up in a meeting that I had with the administrator, and I think that's something that we should have
With them.
with them.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
So with that, I suppose, Cynthia, if you want to carry on with the welcome letters, I'll keep working on the information for the website. We can schedule a meeting and find a time that works for everyone. I'd like to put forward a motion to schedule a working session to discuss these items. And we can determine that time at a later date.
I second the motion.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion approved. All right, moving on to the November 9th, 2023 minutes.
I did have a question under the consultation section. Ben Alexander, does he also go by Ben? Is his name is Matt?
I think it's a different person.
Okay.
wasn't here for that meeting, but I believe that that is, that's another week.
I'm okay with these. I make a motion that we approve.
Absolutely.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion. Moving on to April 11th, 2024.
There was, I think it's an incorrect date. Harry, you can confirm the date that's quoted that the person from the state's coming to speak. I should have made a note of where that was. So it's in April, and she's coming in May, right?
Mhm.
It's under new business, historic map, historic district map, the second paragraph in that section.
Yeah, that could
Page
be,
four.
it should be May 23rd.
I saw no other errors personally.
Oh, actually, or, under, I found, there's an S missing from my last name under, 109, the strand, it says Miss Hayward.
Oh, yes.
It's not really a. Okay.
So I will move to approve the minutes for April 11th.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Okay. So, first up, we have a consultation for 161 East Second Street. If you'd like, are you representing?
Yeah.
Okay, if you'd like to state your name and.
My name is Willard F. Hurd. I'm the architect for the project.
We actually have a sign-in sheet, so if they want to send a sign-in, they just.
And if you could also sign it, please.
So I'm not as familiar with the process. I don't know if you want to just kind of walk through the project as it is, or if you have.
That'd be wonderful.
Okay.
Yes.
So the project is the two parcels, 159, 161, Second Street. It is 4 houses up from the corner, and it backs up to that sort of alleyway and the river. And the first page gives the picture of the greenhouse in the middle of that. It's a tired little house. We want to make that. The existing views, it is currently clad in vinyl siding. That small addition in the back has been removed. It's a circa 1980s addition that came off of the previous owner. Third page is the site plan showing its context with the other parcels. One thing to note is that the house at 157 extends over our property line slightly. So that impacts a little bit on the width we can get. We're I think about a foot or so. So the new house will be designed to be 5 feet or slightly more than 5 feet from the building itself. And then on the addition that we're proposing, that will be 5 feet from the property line itself. The concept that we're going for here is sort of the story of this house growing over time. So it's the idea is that someone had this one house, they built the addition onto the side, they matched the height in the front and everything, and then they built additions onto the back, and so that sets the massing and the scale for the project. And so we're telling that partly by having the two front doors, so to the left, as you're looking at it, is the existing doors and windows in their current locations. And then on the right would be the addition with the symmetrical windows and doors. And then a mirroring dormer to the doorway that is existing. Obviously, we're the interior framing, there's a number of repairs that need to be done, both to the roof and the floor. But the idea is that we'll maintain the ridge height, so we're not growing taller than our neighbors. We're just trying to rebuild to make it stronger. And then obviously on the front, this front portion, this front part of the house would be the cedar siding. It would be on the front, the true divided white windows, all painted wood, brick and such. And it'd only be on the addition, as you can see in the subsequent elevations, that we would move to a fiber cement product for the siding. This is sort of a massing model of looking at the building in its context with its neighbors. And you can see how on the front, the part of it, so we're removing that porch. The roof is in terrible shape. And it's a weird proportion of brick and wood. It really does feel like someone wrapped like existing wood posts in brick and made them unpainted. So taking that off, it's kind of also intrusive on the street. And coming back with a simpler brick stoop and railing to match our neighbor at 165. And then from the rear, you can see how we're stepping back the floor levels as well to bring light into the building. If we pushed everything all the way forward, then that middle second floor becomes very dark and very uncomfortable. And so this gets us 2 decks at the different living levels, and some relationship, and again, a scaling so that the front is prominent and then the rear has proportion. And then page 6 and 7 and 8 for all the elevations. You can see how we're trying to group windows and bring light without making window walls. So trying to maintain some sense of that there's more wall than window, and some proportion on there. In the upper deck. The sides obviously have very little in the way of windows or openings because they front our neighbors. So the one exception, looking at the south elevation, that's kind of a notch, so that first addition is narrower to make a notch so we can get side windows for the powder room that we want to do in the front and the kitchen area and such in the back. We can get light in that way. And then some very sort of still sketchy floor plans. On the first floor, we're going to maintain the existing stair to the basement where the mechanicals currently are in the existing portion, which is a full basement. And then the rest of it will be a slab on grade elevated because of the flood risks and stuff in the area. Then the upstairs, bedroom, storage, bath, primary bedroom, suite area. And then under the roof in the attic space will be a 4th bedroom and bathroom. That's the overall scope of it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate we had a couple working sessions, some working sessions that we have had, and that was, very helpful. I think this is much closer to after we still have the echo of what the contributing building is. We're sort of staying within that with the side addition, and although there are a lot of cases, sometimes it's a race to the water in the back, we do have a scaling down, so it fits both within the massing. It works well from a plan perspective, and the materials definitely meet the standards and guidelines. We may have a small conversation about the vinyl covered railing at the back. But everything else compared to the idea, I think, no, I think this is, it's nice to have a really complete application, but this is much closer to what I hope you'll be able to do on the site, and I think that was very productive, so. I
Yeah,
don't
and I will say that I looked at some examples of sort of, it looked like there are some that have vinyl, and obviously being close to the river, you know, corrosion is an issue, but, I think there's
There are
obviously
other
something.
options, yeah, there's just the vinyl specifically tends to depend, and I don't want to say after, but I'll sort of double check to put that on the edition, but if not overall, I think the massing works much better, I think we can still read the scale, and it's a much more natural and organic addition to the side. And I think there's clearly that that hierarchy between street fronting and rear fronting, so, yeah, I would say in terms of concept, this is something that I would be happy to recommend.
It's pretty.
Thank you.
Question about the simulated divided light windows on the second and third floors. Is the simulated divided light on the exterior window or is it between the panes?
So, it will be similar to the Marvin product that I actually used on 165, which has exterior muntins, and then the spacer bar that is painted black.
It's applied one.
Right, so applied muntins, and then there's a spacer bar inside the double pane.
Yeah.
For the shadow line. It's only the windows at the first floor level that are the authentic, 1/4 inch glass, and then with an energy panel interior to get performance.
And you're maintaining the brackets and just replicating.
Yes.
them.
Yes. And we're keeping that little, the roof kind of comes down and it flattens out, and it's a building gutter in kind of a flat roof area, so we're gonna maintain that.
I do want to point out that you'll notice that the chimney is not there anymore, but Will had asked that, and the chimney is also like a unique character defining feature of this,
As near as we can
building.
tell, it's not tied to the mechanical.
So, it's an acceptable sort of modification, which maintains the fluidity of this and so on.
For what it's worth, after the very complicated conversation we had initially on this, I actually went out and looked several times at the site. And I could understand the pushback better on the brick front. Because it's a sort of a humble bunch of buildings there. But I think you've struck a terrific balance here between something that looks beautiful and substantial and also isn't jarring in the neighborhood. So,
Yeah, I realize when you're looking at the area, it's really like the block up and on, that you see a lot of brick.
Yeah.
It's still much more the wood siding.
It's a normal graduation as you
Yeah.
get close to the center, yeah, that hierarchy that we discussed. both.
but it's beautiful.
It is, it really is.
And this is something that, we see really often here is a lot of people have, two houses side by side that they can live in. So I think that this, represents something that's already here.
Yeah, it seemed easier to do that than to try to make a whole new wide front, like, okay, now it's in the center hall, short thing, is it working? It was like, so, it just seemed easier to sort of existing, fill up that.
Are there any other comments in this?
So it's gonna be really nice inside too.
I also like the step back on the backside here, because it does sort of look like it's been added to over time, so that's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's nice because it gives you then a more private window.
This is lovely.
We haven't heard anything from the owner.
Well, I'm just waiting for the answer here, because we didn't know since what. Come on, this is just keeps on lingering,
To live in this home that's been laid out this way.
yeah.
Can I see the river from
Kevin, I'll invite your wife over, don't you worry. Oh.
I don't have any more.
So this is a consultation, so
it?
so I think the next steps are this comes before.
The building, yes, this is, once the building. The permit drawings are ready, they can come and just to be very precise, we'll write up if the building permit design and scale openings matches, absolutely, this will go for the tier one, would not have to wait to come back.
Yes, the only, yeah. The only thing I expect is, I mean, once we have to sort of go on, I want to double check, but the overall width of the new addition may vary slightly.
Yeah, I mean-
Based on foundation needs and things, but otherwise.
If there, you have the question, I mean, as we talked, if it's a question of just, if everything was remain the same, you know, if shapes change, like
Right.
sheds become other,
Yeah.
then that we have to come back and revisit.
Yeah,
And one of the things we spoke with the city administrator is we're pretty much a lot of tier ones come in as they go. And we're sort of gonna put in a timeline that if tier one comes in, they're typically gonna be responded to within 2 weeks.
Okay.
So that, you know, that way that things can be tracked. Hence those applications, because they come in, they have to be on the agenda because they came in before the time, but once they get treated, they get crossed. And if you have, and you know, if you have any questions about the materials or, you know, while you're developing that,
Yeah,
obviously, you know, we're
yeah.
running it.
so this is being submitted to you as a tier one. If,
Should, yes,
So-
should the building,
should the-
when the drawings are submitted for permit. If the drawings match the concept exactly in terms of scale, volume, architectural features and materials.
Yep.
Then they can be reviewed as a tier one. Should there be any modification, then we'll talk about them and get it on the calendar for the next half meeting.
Working hard to avoid that.
Yeah. And then we'll talk about, you know, we'll just double check to make sure we're on the same page with the rating.
Yeah.
Yes, you do need to make a motion that the concept is, you know, reiterating what we just said, that it's best presented and should. And should the building from the drawings match concepts, matching architectural features, materials and layout, then that application could be, the application for historical certificate can be double checked.
so I'd like to make a motion to approve this concept, as presented with the materials, massing,
Features.
architectural features, thank you, to be approved as a tier one, should they match what's presented here. Anyone second that? Second.
I have a question. Why do we have a motion of this? Well, I'm more than welcome, I'm happy to do a motion, I'm just trying to understand, you know, we're approving this as an application, or we're agreeing that it should be turned back around as a, why the need for a motion?
Well, we're approving this concept as it's presented to us, so. When they come back with the is it the specs for the building permit, if they match this. exactly in terms of,
It's as a result of some limited controversy in the first approach. This is what we're trying to say. We have seen the revised.
It's not in response to a conference, it's a principle of consultation. So what we had done is that the ideas before, because developing full-blown building construction documents, CDs, takes a lot of effort and time. So the idea is the consultation is a way, one, we have the site consultation where I can talk with the design, with the applicant's architects. And then coming to HAC is to get the feedback on new construction based on the concept, what it's gonna look like, the massing, before the applicant goes and pays for full-blown drawings. So the idea of the motion is to say that this is a concept that viewing it, HAC would approve it and thus can expedite the turnaround for the approval for the building permit, which would be the historic review certificate, which was required for a building permit. And at that point, if it matches this exactly, then it can be done as a tier one. Should HAC, for example, and we'd have this conversation, right, where I'm always very clear that I say, we talk and we come to agreements, but that ultimately the applicant's architect reflects what the applicant wants. And should the applicant had wanted something different, I could always come and present and say whether I support it, I recommend it or not. So HAC would always potentially have the wherewithal of not approving a concept, which would then have the applicant go back to the drawing board without having to redo the whole construction documents, which is getting to all the structural details. So that's why the motion sort of documents this approval of the concept and the design in terms of massing, volume, setback, materials, architectural features. As such, and then allows for a shorter turnaround of the actual building permits if everything connects. Under the condition that nothing should change. Should there be a change, then as we have.
Very good. Let's do a motion then.
okay. So, I'd like to put forward a motion to approve this concept, in terms of massing, volume, setback, architectural features, materials, as presented to be reviewed, as a tier one for a historic review certificate.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Thank you.
You. Yeah, you gotta buy him a joke now. It's burger night at Zolli's.
Well, if the commissioners would like a burger, it's on me.
Thank you all so much. Or if they need us, Michael. That's the only place I've ever seen you.
Thank you.
Later, everybody.
Next up, we have moved by Strand, Patrick Canal, and Catherine. So this is previously approved application. Great, if you wouldn't mind signing in for us, just so we can keep track.
You'll take paper back to do one. Pardon? You can take paper back over.
Okay,
and
thanks.
selling up, standing.
And what we're wanting to do is make two changes from that approval. They're not very complicated and you have images, both of what was approved in November. And then the first of the changes is the dormer in the attic. We've changed from a gable roof to a shed roof. Per discussion with Leila, that the shed is pulled down from the ridge so that you can really tell what's the dominant volume. And the object is to get more light and air into the attic, which is not going to be simply storage, but it's going to be, we'll have exercise equipment up there and all kinds of things going on. So that's the object of the game. In the course of this, by adding, there's one more window. Actually, it's the same type of window that you approved in November, but just one more. What that causes is because they're on a diagonal on the corners, it adds a full 5 inches to the width of the dormer. Then the other change is from November. There is an area which you can see kind of towards the rear of the rear section, which in November was under a an acrylic fiberglass translucent roof. We've decided that what we really need more than the little protected porch space there is a laundry room and a mudroom. And so we're asking to just put it under a shingle roof, and the edge of the roof line is exactly where it was before. That's the extent of the changes. Kathy, you want
Yeah,
to?
it's right here.
Okay.
It's the last.
Technicalities that come with moving closer to finishing and defining, and with the light restrictions, we just wanted a more light in the upstairs area, which will probably be making a catch-all kind of space. So.
And then just for credit, 'cause there's one thing I noticed, and I know we've been exchanging information that in the side views, I just want to make sure the window that's an arched window. And then the second one is actually 4 bay, so.
The original approval,
Yeah, in the original, it was the third window, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think there's one interim that shows the dormer, but then had it extended to like 4 paired windows, but then the final one is this last one, it's still gonna remain a half round?
Half round.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
That's, again, it's a matter of going towards practicalities, what can you clean easily? Since that's a 2-story space inside, we want to be able to have reachable and washable, interior.
Yeah, so on the second floor, just to be clear, we'll have a half round, the pair, and then the 4.
Yeah. The pair corresponds with the center hall and stairway, and the 4 is a bedroom on the right-hand side. And that's unchanged.
Maybe my perspective on the, once we do the exchange, I think this is, I mean, I did want to come back to half because there are changes, shapes and massing, but I think this would also sort of meet the intent and meet the guidelines, and I think I would recommend these adjustments.
So, and then there's also, there's 4 windows on the second 2 renderings and 3 windows on the back. On the,
Those are unchanged in November.
okay, so what we approved was 4 windows.
I think this is what was first brought of the conditions. The second is what was approved.
With the overlay of the new designs.
So,
I think this is perhaps, if you want to just to be clear, on the original approved at the rear porch, there were 3 windows. The elevation here of the modification, with maybe an interim, is showing 4 windows. This model, which is sort of the record, right, the most recent record of what you're doing, is it still 3 windows at the back porch?
4.
It is 4.
4.
So to be precise, if this is the concept that was approved originally, the modifications requested, I think, are 1, that the rear porch should now have 4 windows versus 4.
I'm sorry, I've just lost track. Yeah, I'm happy to do either 3 or 4.
No, I'm just asking, so for the record, so when you have the changes, nobody comes and questions it. Your intent is you would prefer to have 4 instead of 3.
That's the latest version.
Okay,
I think 4 is better myself.
okay, so that would be 4 windows instead of 3 windows at the rear porch. And then the area that was previously covered with a plexiglass roof, that would now become an enclosed area with a single roof extending across it. And then the semi-round window would remain, the other windows would remain. The third change is the dormer would go from being a side gable to a shed dormer. It would now have a sheet metal roof. And the window
Yeah,
would be,
standing seam.
standing seams, and then the window would now be more of a bay window as opposed to the straight
With the straight.
5 face.
And there's a couple other windows that differ as well. The double window in the initial approval off of the 2nd-story porch. It's 1 window in the final rendering.
It's still a double, it's hard, it's it's actually correct to see that, the one, that's a single.
Two here.
Oh, yeah,
Cool, I mean, there's no-
and that'll become a single.
Cha-ching.
Fewer skylights is always good, yes.
To just state the obvious, all of this is not visible from the Strand.
Yeah, it's just, we wanna make sure that when it is being constructed, whatever you're building is consistent with what was approved. And that's why we're bringing up these inconsistencies, because if we can state that this 3D model is the one that truly represents your intent, this last one, then we wanna be, to Lisa's point, wanna be precise. So we now have 4 windows on the rear porch, back facing instead of 3. We now have a paired window on the rear elevation of the first floor that's now become a single window. We have a reduced number of skylights on the porch, on the middle section. We have a previously open area on the middle section that was covered with a plexiglass roof that's now becoming an enclosed area with a architectural shingle roof.
Yes.
We have a hallway window that has been added on the second floor of the rear elevation.
The,
The half
in the
round.
center.
In the center.
Half round is in a two-story space. inside.
Yeah, the half front remains, but we're adding a paired window on the second floor.
Yes, the hallway staircase. Space.
And then and then there are the changes to the dormer that we discussed, going from a straight to a bay window, slightly larger, very slightly, a few inches larger, and a roof that's going from a side gable to a shed roof that's gonna be standing seam sheet metal as opposed to architectural shingle.
There's also some trim differences here
But the
on behind the bump out in the back with the 4 windows. You look at the addition on to the left. There's like a transom light up at the top,
There's a half round in both versions and, actually, I think that. Yes, it's the same. Both of these are the same trim on the side facing the river.
But I think it should.
skylight.
There's a half round. This part is here in your original, and so you took it out? Or did you intend to keep it?
I believe this is the November version, and the half round was already out on the
Oh,
entire.
you're taking it out, okay.
It
all right.
had gone out already.
Okay. So we capture everything?
I do believe that we have captured everything. I've been so focused on the.
I have a question. Would it be possible for the owner to date and initial the view? That is the view, and that'll be part of our record.
Yes, and the digital files that are sent are dated. Each of them is named and dated.
But if you could even just initial the date there.
Actually, whatever copy you'd like me to upstate.
Yeah, the last page. On the spot.
So the last page is the current.
The last page is the proposed, yes, with all the modifications. The 3D model is from the side.
The, so railing on the porch goes all the way to the wall, whereas the second one, it does not.
It does on the first one.
Yeah, I think this one was sort of the model kind of got cut. The interim one,
I see.
because that was the preliminary one where you sent it with the initial ideas and you want to change, what do you think about this? I was like, I think it's not, we had the back and forth, I think it's gonna happen. I think the one that's more
Okay,
fleshed out is
so it's the
the,
first one versus this
yeah.
is what we're doing.
Mhm.
Okay. Were the stairs the original concept? They just couldn't
Yeah.
tell?
The stairs are the same.
You just don't see them in this view, they're behind that infirm rail,
Oh, I see.
under the paired window.
Mhm.
We wanted to project those ever so slightly so that people looking down the sidewalk from the Strand would be able to know that there's a stair there. The adjacent house in the Litchfield rendering is vanished. The house at 107 is actually right up against the property line. So this goes from 12 feet wide between their party wall, 6 feet wide in the lowest part, and then expands out again to the rear yard. What we're trying to do is maintain access for a skip loader or something, anything that might want to get back. For what it's worth, we're gonna exchange a mutual easement with all our neighbors so that anything for maintenance can be gotten back.
You're gonna need it.
Mhm.
I think we all have them in this town. Yeah. Okay, so just to reiterate and make sure that we have all of the changes, so starting with the rear dormer. We're going from this, is it the side gabled, dormer to, it looks like a bay window with a standing seam shed roof. Right,
It's one of the types illustrated on your standard.
yeah, absolutely. I just want to make sure that we have everything. So on the second floor, we're keeping, the half round window. And we're adding
Paired
a
window.
paired window and we're keeping the, sorry, I didn't see your name. Is it, did you say the four pair?
Yeah, the quad.
Okay, the quad.
Same.
Okay.
I kept track too, Tara, so I'm just checking as you're talking.
Thank you.
If you want me to volunteer anything, let me know.
So on the, then on the first floor of sort of the main structure, before we get into sort of the two structures at the back, we're going from a double window to a single window. And then we're reducing on this middle structure, we're reducing the number of skylights from 4 on each side of the gabled roof to 2, so a total of 4. We're eliminating the half round window at the back, which I think you mentioned was eliminated from
Yeah,
the previous
the,
plans.
The middle mass, the half round windows.
You said that the plexi roof is gone and has a, okay,
So that's.
and then
Just
the last one I have is the rear
Yeah.
four windows. It's 4 windows, not 3 windows.
The plexiglass roof is gone, it's architecturally enclosed terrain, and Cynthia, and that open area is now enclosed.
Where it was fiberglass. See,
I do. I thought plexi was bizarre, but yeah. Always have 2 lines of those. I was suspicious how clear things are going to stay over time. And I'm always of 2 lines of those, even in modern, you know, about how clear things are going to stay. You know, these lovely modern architectures, and you come back later, it's like,
And then on this rear massing, you're going from 3 windows to. Is there anything that I've missed?
I think you got it.
Okay, no problem.
What I got,
Okay. Are there any additional comments or questions?
Thank you. Finding document as you.
congratulations.
I think it looks great.
Yes.
Just walk us through it. Sure, the next steps in terms of building. Because we just hired a bid and so could you just walk us through what to expect in the next steps?
I think the next step is it's the building permit drawings.
Well, you need the drawing,
You need the
permit
drawings.
drawings and pay your fee and.
And based on the fact that the modifications to the concepts have been approved by HAC, that can come to me as a tier 1 for the historic review certificate, saying that these drive, and obviously I will double check the drawings and they'll say they match, including the changes, and then you're good to go.
So that's what you call the certificate of appropriateness?
Yeah.
Historic review certificate, yeah.
Because those normally can only be given when you have the full-blown detailed drawings for building permit. So that's why the concept allows people to have that tied down and then have a quicker turnaround if nothing changes.
Yeah, I informed our contractor that those were gonna be coming along, so.
And like I said, now we're putting, once they're reviewed, we are putting a timeline to review things when they come, by the time I get them within 2 weeks.
Did you get your first elevation certificate? Did you get your first elevation certificate yet?
We're gonna keep asking for the proposal, but not, no, the answer is not yet. But,
So that's the thing that I can't give you.
permit without,
I have to give you a flood permit and you can't get that, with the elevation certificate. Then you get another elevation certificate when the first floor deck is first floor, and then one when you're done.
right at the end, yeah.
So that's why we wanted to make sure that everything was noted, not to be difficult, but that way that you don't have to come back to us again once you have the renderings done.
We make a motion to approve and
Okay, so, motion to approve, the design in terms of, materials,
I think we need to approve the modifications to the originally approved concept.
so motion to approve the modifications to the originally approved concept,
signed and dated.
signed and dated. Second. All in favor? Aye. Motion approved. Thank you very much.
Good luck. What else?
This ain't wood, so don't be knocking on this.
Yeah.
I guess.
All right.
Thank you. So, I think with the other discussion items, some of these are things that I discussed with the city administrator in a meeting that Leila and I had with her last week. We're going to discuss the items that we mentioned at the beginning of the meeting in a future work session. Are there any of these items?
I'd just like to comment on the Market Square Bridge project. They moved very quickly and did indeed get the planter thingies filled in by May Market, which was really important. So thank you. If you're the one who's here for that, thank you.
Encourage.
Well, I appreciate it because it did make a difference and you know, whatever the misunderstanding, much appreciate that you took care of it. Thank you. So district map, historic district map you took up with the administrator, yeah?
That's something we discussed, and that's also something I think we can discuss as part of something to update with the hack page on the website is to kind of clarify what is within the purview of the Historic Area Commission between the local historic district and then the National Historic Landmark District.
And then we'll also be clarifying that there are some buildings that potentially are not within the limits, but they are listed on the National Register. Also come under review.
One other thing, it's just me being irritating, so I apologize, but the action item list for the minutes. I know, you know, we've done a lot of work to get to this place and I appreciate that, but one of the things that I asked to have added as a line item was the report for the planning commission. If we were capturing action items, that was in the minutes.
I did request that.
Unless you don't want it. If you all decide you don't want an update from the planning commission, I won't do it. So that's just extra work for me, but it's not on this agenda, so I can't do it. So,
Well, I think these are things, if there's gonna be, I think the idea of the work session, as has been discussed, you know, following Tara's meeting with the city administrator, was actually to have a conversation with the whole agenda of that would be to talk not just of some of these items, but, you know, processes and potential improvements and things to what you've discussed. And that means that becomes a conversation where it's just working about things that may be better, things that could be going to that.
I hear all that,
Yeah.
except that we've been so rigidly agenda driven and it's not specifically on the agenda, so that's what I'm concerned about. So if you want to add creating an action item list to the agenda for the working meeting, then I'd be happy girl. I'm just saying
We can
you know,
add
I'm
that. I
just
think-
trying to understand.
Oh, yeah.
how-
Should,
And the procedure for managing hack meetings too, which is, they're all tied together, really.
I think with that, we should probably do another motion since we,
Just update the
Since we-
position maybe?
yeah,
Okay,
so
so we can add to it procedure for managing hack meetings and creating an action item list out of the meetings. Yeah? Marika, do we have to restate the whole thing or?
No, it's being recorded.
Is it being recorded? Okay, so we can just say it's that motion plus this and I can make that motion now.
yes, you can.
Okay, I move that we amend the previous motion about the agenda items for the working session to include procedure for managing hack meetings and creating action item lists and other administrative aspects of managing our meeting minutes so that we're more effective in tracking our agreements and commitments. So I make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. So finally, Are there any public comments on any of the items that we have discussed this meeting? Yes.
I would ask that you go into the guidelines. And there's a reference there for the code of 7.5 and 9.2. It needs to be brought up to 230 if you want to 50 people. Was on the website originally, but that's been changed. And-
It's, you're
but
absolutely
it,
right.
it wasn't called in the guidelines.
So we can do it then.
Just like just in the like first paragraph.
Yeah, because the whole guidelines went through the whole process of being approved by ordinance, so we can see what's the process of doing that, put it in there.
You're right. I did see that when I was reading through them. Thank you. Would you mind
Signing in.
signing in?
Yeah, it won't wait.
Oh,
He's hiding it.
just to keep, yeah. So we
Can commissioners make any general comments for the benefit of the commission? So I did have one of them, I'll do that. Okay, I actually read the city municipal code recently. And it is incredible how much of the requirements for the historic area are embedded in our city's municipal code. If you haven't read it, I recommend you do. Because it also speaks to some of the things that we thought might have been grandfathered or in some other way not enforceable. It's very, very explicit on certain things about business signage and stuff like that. And as we go forward and improve our enforcement as gently as possible, that's extremely important to understand, and it is very different from the design guidelines. So I just wanted to make that comment for the benefit of the commission.
Are there any other comments? With that, I would like to make a motion to end the meeting.
So I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Now it's over, y'all can know it's Tara's birthday, so we're all gonna